Hello everyone, welcome to Cabin Fever Crochet. I'm Helene and I thank you for being here today. I am sharing with you my Dreamy fingerless gloves, and they really are to me. Depending on the yarn, they can just be so soft and squishy, warm, cushy, comfortable. And the stitch lends to that itself. And as fingerless gloves go, especially with a thumb cover, they are relatively easy. It's a fun little pattern and works up pretty quickly. I designed these with shaping in mind to fit the contour of the hand. So it tapers in, goes out, and then tapers back in again to give you ease of movement, be able to do tasks without a lot of bulk. This pattern will fit a variety of sizes, and it looks good on all sides, all the way around, front and the back, so you don't have to worry about having a left or a right. With optional border and thumb cover. And I know that it's a little tedious, takes some patience doing that end portion of it, but it closed up those holes, reinforced the join, and you wind up with a really well-constructed pair of gloves that are soft and comfortable and fit the hand very nicely. Like a hug for your hands that you just want to wrap around your entire self. Before we get started, I want to go over with you just a few yarn options and supplies, and also show you the stitch that I chose. It is out of my 500 crochet stitches, the Ultimate Crochet Stitch Bible, which I use pretty frequently, so you'll see me reference that from time to time. And on page 119 is the Grit Stitch 2. It's, I can get this without glare, it's a 1-row repeat, and it looks different when you're working it up in a rectangle as it does in the round. And working in the round, I had to do a little bit of configuring so the decrease and increase and everything works out well along with the thumb cover. And as you can see, working it in the round, it takes up a diagonal shape. In this pattern, you could go down to a number 3 or a Decaway if you want a finer gauge. You'll just have to do more rows to begin for the wrist, and then more stitches, of course, but that will work just fine. And you can go up to, I would say for this, a worsted weight number 4. You could try a little bit chunky. I don't recommend going into the bulky yarns for this pattern, but seems to work up really well within that worsted weight family, or the number 4 or lighter. And as an example, on the lighter end of that, Hobby Lobby Yarn Bee Chloe, this is colorway Ocean Water. In a 3.5 ounce ball, you get 270 yards. But of course, the fibers can make a difference how it works up as well. This is 70% wool, 30% viscose, which is a plant fiber pulp, and it worked up really nicely, I thought. And then the acrylic equivalent as far as yardage, how it works up, and how it catches on itself. So this is not a workhorse type of yarn as far as practice, or if you make a lot of mistakes and have to take out and put back in. I don't recommend it for that at all. But the acrylic equivalent is Red Heart Unforgettable. You get the exact same amount of yardage, everything else that I said. And I think yarns like Lion Brand Heartland would be very nice. Or you can go into the wools, merino, the finer wools such as that. And also Premier Everyday, Karen Simply Soft, Red Heart Soft. Those would all be nice if that's what you have on hand or have access to. The one that I'm going to be working in today is one that I showed recently in my review. of the Willow yarns, and this is the Denim Grace, and I showed you a little sneak peek of it, so I thought I would continue and finish with this yarn. This is nice. You get 5.3 ounces, 360 yards, which will be enough to do a complete set, a pair of fingerless gloves, and the matching hat. And the fiber content is 40% acrylic, 30 nylon, and 30% wool. So now I'll go over the supplies that you need, just a few basics. 2 hook sizes. So in the worsted, which are lighter number 4 to me, and they're a little bit lighter than the number 4 worsted, and including the Denim Grace, I suggest a 4.5 millimeter for that, which is a G+ hook, and then I'm going down to a 4 millimeter. If you're using a little bit thicker yarn, then you may want to start with the 5 millimeter or a US H hook. So whatever standard hook size you would go with, you're going to go down 1 size for the main body and then down another size for the edging parts. And then you will need 2 stitch markers. They will come in handy. A row counter if you have one, and if not, good old pencil and paper, but you'll definitely need something to write with because you're going to need to keep track of your rounds, the numbers for beginning, for the wristband, and then also for the rest of the work, what you're doing, so that you know what your personal sizing and formula will be, so that when you go to make your second one, you will have 2 gloves that are exactly alike. And then of course your usual scissors and yarn needle. We're going to be working foundation half double crochets, and I'm going to work this one in 26. As long as it's an even number, that's fine, doesn't matter. And if you have a much smaller wrist, perhaps 24, and if you have a larger wrist, then 28. The main thing is you just need to fit the wrist, and then all of the rest of the formula would be the same. Always make sure your working loop where it slips is on top of your hook. If you're a beginner, I like to just throw in a little tip here and there. Okay, so the foundation half double crochet, we're creating the chain and the stitch all in one. It gives a really nice base and finished edge to your glove without having to do anything else. Okay, so begin by chaining 2, yarn over, insert your hook in the first chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, okay, and bring it up about to the height of a half double crochet stitch. Okay, yarn over and pull through the first loop. This creates your stitch, and you can place your finger on that if you're not familiar with this stitch, just so you know, it gives you a visual of where you're going to do your placement in your next stitch. Okay, so now yarn over and pull through all 3. That's your half double crochet. So if you want to remove your finger a little bit and see, well, then you can see the stitch. Here's your half double crochet, these 3 loops coming off the end of your hook, and then just to the left of that is your chain. Now you're going to repeat the process, yarn over, go through the chain, make sure you go through both loops at the top. Again, pull up a loop, pull through the first loop, pull through all 3, and there is your second made. And I am not counting this little stitch on the left, which we're going to crochet around when we get to the end. You just repeat this over and over and over again until you have 26 or whatever your number is that fits around your wrist. And I always count twice just to double check before I connect. Okay, I'll do one more with you. And then I will meet you at the end. I've finished my 26, and to count, I turn my work around. I put the tail on the bottom so that the chains are on the bottom. My working stitches are on top. I just look to that first full stitch and then count across all the way to the last one. And then now I'm going to connect to join. Your loop should be on top to the right, your working yarn coming off the bottom, and on the other side your tail will be on the bottom as well. Make sure my yarn's on the outside. You don't want to get that hung up in the ring. Now I'm going to slip stitch to join through both loops in the top of that first full half double crochet. We're going to be working front post double crochet followed by half double crochets alternating all the way around. And if you want, for your beginning front post double crochet, you can chain up 1 or 2 and then work the stitch. However, you are going to see the seam. So what I'm going to do to eliminate that is work a chainless front post double crochet. I have not seen this done, but I took what I know about the stitch and carried it on for doing the front post portion. Bring up your loop on your hook about the height of a double crochet. Secure that loop with your thumb, tip the hook down, go around behind the loop, and then now we're going to go around the back of the stitch and through, and including those first 2 starting single crochets at the bottom, at the very bottom that we started making the foundation half double crochet. Now yarn over and pull up a loop all the way up to the same height as what's on your hook, just like a regular front post double crochet. Yarn over, pull through the first loop, and then go around behind the loop on your hook, which counts as a second. And then now you can let go, yarn over and pull through 2, the last 2. If you need to see what I mean about the yarn being a little splitty, if you need to see that again, you can always rewind to your heart's content. But I like the look of it, so that's what I'm doing with mine. There we go. Now if you want to keep this stitch straight, you can grab another stitch marker. So you'll need 2 actually if you want to do this. And you can just put your stitch marker in the bottom and of the loop to the left and then the loop to the right, and connect those, and they'll keep them in place as you're working. Okay, so that is the first stitch, and in the second, place 1 half double crochet around the next, going around the half double crochet front post. Half double in the next, front post double crochet in the next, half double in the next. See, as I'm doing this, shows me where the stitches are lined up. We just worked the half double crochet in the top of this next half double, so the next stitch will be our front post double crochet, which corresponds to this stitch. So then the next is the half double, and then just continue working this all the way around, and I'll meet you at the end, work the last stitch together, and show you how to connect and carry on. I've come around and I have 2 stitches left, so I will work my front post double crochet in the next, and then in the very last stitch at the end, my last half double. We're going to connect to the top of that chainless front post double crochet, which, as you can see, it slants off to the left. When we connect, it's going to straighten it back up, and make sure you go through the front loop and the back loop, which tends to turn behind a little bit and not accidentally in that little stitch in between. And what we do here in this round 2, we'll be doing for each round thereafter to your desired height, however you like to go. I've come around with 2 stitches left, so I'm going to place my front post double crochet around the very next, and in the last stitch, my half double crochet. As you can see, we're going to connect to this chainless front post double crochet, but it does angle off to the left, and the front loop can get a little loopy, and the back loop can squish down and tend to fold over. So make sure it still forms like that V shape, just like all the others. So make sure you go through the front and the back and not accidentally that little stitch in between. Go ahead and slip stitch as we did in the previous round, and now in this round 2 and every round thereafter, we're going to work it in the exact same way, and you just keep going and going to your desired height. And I went up 5 rounds of working the front post double crochet and the half double, 5 of those, which, in case you're curious, that's going to vary depending on the yarn, but it's approximately 2 inches is the height that I went up. Okay, so now we're going to work a front post double crochet around the previous front post double, half double crochet in the top, going through those 2 loops of the half double, and that's all we're going to do. Alternate all the way around, front post around the front, half double in the half double, and then you connect as we did here and just repeat around and around. So I'm going to go ahead and do another chainless front post double crochet, followed by half double, splitty splitty, and once you've completed that first round, your stitches are here, they're defined, easier to see, so these next rounds go much faster. And you get this nice ribbing texture, which is stretchy, forgiving, can fit a variety of sizes. You get that on the front, and then on the inside it is smooth. All right, well, go ahead and work all your rounds, and I will do mine. I'll meet you at the top, and then we'll begin our hand portion. I've finished my 5 rounds. All right, we are on round 1 of the hand. Slip stitch to the beginning stitch, the top of that front post. Do not chain 1, okay? But you're going to go back in and work directly into that same stitch. And I know that's a little unconventional, but that's just kind of how we do things here at Cabin Fever Crochet. Sometimes we have to improvise and come up with something that's going to work to create the design of your dreams. Into the first stitch, we are going to work a single crochet and a double crochet all into the same stitch there, okay? And just by doing that little slip stitch, it shores the gap here, brings it in. You don't have that chain 1 to create an ugly seam, okay? Now take your stitch marker and place that back. I'm going to put that into that first single crochet because we're going to be working in a continuous round. Alright, so now you're going to skip 1 stitch, which is that half double, and in the next stitch you're going to do the same. 1 single, 1 double. You're skipping the half doubles and working in the top of the front post double crochet all the way around. Right? Skip 1, 1 single crochet and 1 double crochet in the next. Skip 1 single crochet, double crochet. That's it, all the way around. Single, double into the top of each front post stitch all the way around. Here I am back around. Oops, round 2 now. Our first increase. This is fun one. Okay, took my stitch marker out, so we're going to work directly right into that first single crochet, and we're going to place 1 single crochet and 1 double crochet, and in the double crochet right next to that, again 1 single crochet and 1 double crochet, and in the next single crochet we're going to begin with our pattern around. 1 single, 1 double, skip the double. That's what you're going to be doing all around. Now you're going to be working into the single crochets only and skipping the double. So we're going to place in this next single crochet 1 single and 1 double, skip the double and jump over the single again. Work 1 single, 1 double. That's it. I'll meet you back around, and when you get there you should have 28 stitches, or if your beginning foundation row is different, by 2 less or 2 more, for example, then you just have to keep track of what your stitches are. So say if you started with 28, then after the increase you will have 30 stitches. If you started with 24, then you will have 26. Easy as that. I've come around to the end of round 2. Now we're going to begin round 3, and we're going to be working in a continuous round from here on out. Okay, So working directly into the top of that first single crochet, kind of shrinks down there a little bit. Now you'll need your stitch marker to place after we make the first stitch, and then move that up on each stitch. One thing about this pattern though, if you forget to pop that stitch marker back in, which I do quite often, this one is easy to look back and see where the rows are, or the rounds, excuse me, because they are at a slant and they're very well defined, as you can see. Okay, so now round 3 and 4 are going to be the same. Super easy. We're just going to continue this pattern all the way around. All right, so single crochet directly into that first single crochet and a double crochet in the same stitch, skipping that next double crochet, and in the next stitch, which is the single crochet, you do the same. One single crochet, one double crochet. So as we did before, you're skipping each double crochet all the way around, and you're working into the single crochets only, placing those 2 stitches. One single, one double. When you get back around to the beginning, then just continue working with the continuous round on round 4 and do the exact same thing as you did here, and remember to put your stitch marker back in. Okay, I'll see you at the beginning of round 5. And I have completed round 4, and we will begin round 5 in just a sec. But this is a good time to give it a try on here, see if that fits, how comfortable that is. And see, what we're doing is we're following the contour of the hand. We have the wrist portion down now, and as we increase, it follows the shape of the hand, because you want enough stretch, be able to open your hand wide, grab, do what you need to do without it feeling any pulling and stress around your hand and stressing the stitches out as well. Okay, so depending on the shape of your hand, round 5 is another increase. And because I have wider hands, I need one, but typically proportionally, you know, if you get the wrist, then all the steps that I show you as follows, you know, will fit the shape of most hands. If you are actually doing this for yourself, then you can really customize it however you want. You can add and increase wherever you need it for comfort. So you just try this on periodically, see how it fits. You can increase, and then if you go a couple more rounds and you find that, oh, it's just too loose, you can take that increase out and just continue forward. So because this, getting into the largest, the widest portion of my hand, then I'm going to do another increase. So beginning round 5. Hey, I remembered putting that stitch marker back in. So I told you that I forget. Okay, so just like we did in round 2, we're going to repeat that here on round 5. We're going to start with that first single crochet and place one single crochet and one double. Now stop and pop that stitch marker back in, if you would please. And then our increase, we're going to work into that double crochet right next door here and put one single, one double. And then the very next single crochet next to that, we're going to do the same. Single crochet, double crochet. And now we're back in pattern. And we just continue our regular stitch pattern all the way around, skipping each double crochet and working into the single crochets only. I've come back around and finished round 5. Now time for another try on, because if you need to, you can do another increase. So what I do is I just kind of stretch my hand out, make sure that's comfortable, and when you do, keep the wristband portion up to the top of your wrist, but right at the edge, and then that's where you try it on for your comfort, because it's going to tend to slip back, and if you measure it back, then your glove's going to wind up being extra long and the proportion is going to be off a little bit. Okay, so now for the next rounds, we are going to simply just continue around and around and around in our stitch pattern, working that single crochet and double crochet into each single crochet all the way around, skipping the double crochets just as we've been doing. And the most important thing where you want to go with this, as you add your rounds, here's the knuckle, okay, the thumb knuckle. And that is kind of the very base of this dip. I want to just go in between the very base and the top. So if you go where your thumb knuckle is, don't go down, but you go straight across. And you see right in the center of that valley, that's where you want to stop these rows, and then we will do the thumb hole for that. Not all the way up to the top, because it's going to create too much length in the hand, and you're going to wind up pulling your glove, and your wristband, instead of being at the top of your wrist, is going to be, you know, an inch or two below, because you're going to have to pull it down to fit that thumb hole into this space if you go too high up. So I'm going to work mine, and then I'll tell you how many I did when I get there. Okay, and remember that stitch marker. Okay, so jump right in, one single, one double, into that first single crochet. Get your handy dandy stitch marker. Skip the double crochet and into this next single crochet, one single, one double. Round and around and around we go. But just avoid going to the very top, or it's going to be too big. Alrighty, I finished going up to the top where I need to be, which takes me into that valley of my thumb hole. And to my surprise, I went up 11 rounds. That's right. So now I'm going to begin. For me, round 12 might be different for you, so just keep track. Now we're going to create the thumb hole itself. So chain 5, and don't make those chains tight, just a normal size stitch, because we're going to be working through both loops in the next round. And now skip the next 5 and resume your stitch pattern in the next stitch, which is the single crochet. So go ahead and single crochet and double crochet in that stitch, skipping the double, and again single crochet, double crochet in the next single crochet. That's it. That's all we're going to do all the way around, just as we have been. Placing a single crochet and a double crochet in each single crochet, skipping over each double crochet all the way around. I finished this round, and now that brings me to round 13, or whatever your number is, and in that first single crochet, and as always we're skipping the double. Do your usual 1 single crochet and 1 double crochet in the same stitch, skipping the double, and in the first chain work through the top of those loops, not around. That's going to stretch out your thumb hole, and it's going to throw off the pattern flow throughout the work. All right, so in this first chain, place 1 single crochet and 1 double crochet. Skip the next chain, and in the next again through the top of those loops work 1 single and 1 double. And we will do that sequence one more time, skipping the next, and in the last chain work 1 single and 1 double, and in the next single crochet right next to the last stitch you worked, again 1 single and 1 double. And that is not adding any stitches in, because we actually took one away when we did the chain and brought it back in here to keep that pattern going. And without having a chain space at either end, which created a big gap. All right, so now we just skip over the double, jump right into the single, and continue our pattern all the way around of 1 single crochet and 1 double crochet in each single crochet around, and skipping every double crochet. This is a good point where you can try it on too, really, and just to be sure. And you see how that fits? You have enough space to accommodate movement of your thumb, okay? Not too much, a little bit of gapping here, but that's okay. We need this width to cover the width of the palm, and then we'll begin our decreases here pretty soon. Moving on to round 14. For me, and as always your number might be different depending on the shape, size of your hand. In the next round we're just going to do a regular round, skipping the double, single crochet and double crochet in the first single crochet of the round, and in every single crochet all the way around. Okay, so that's all there is to this one. Easy as that. I've completed round 14, and now I'm moving on to 15, which is my number, but regardless of what your round count is, after you've created your thumb hole, from this point forward, the pattern is the same regardless of your round count until after our second decrease, and then your number might change again depending on the height of your hand and your fingers and how much coverage that you want. But all of this that we're doing here remains in the same sequence in the steps that I'm showing you. All right, so now for our first decrease, as always, we're skipping the double crochet, working into the next single crochet, placing your usual 1 single and 1 double, skipping the double, and in the next 2 stitches we're going to single crochet those 2 together. When insert your hook into the single crochet, pull up a loop leave those 2 on your hook, go into the double crochet, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3. Just make sure that the top of your stitch isn't stretched out or too loose, because that's going to create another gap. And now on the next 2 stitches, we're going to double crochet those 2 together. Yarn over, insert your hook into the single crochet, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, leave these 2 on your hook, yarn over, go into the double crochet, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, and now we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. And if you find, yeah, there's a gap here and that's stretched out a little too much, please take that out and redo it, and make sure the loop on your hook is cinched down for that double crochet 2 together. And then you can just easily and that quickly, as long as you don't get hung up, redo it. Okay? Better. Alright, so now we're going right into this next single crochet and resume our stitch pattern with a single and a double in the same stitch, skipping the double and going back into the single, and as always working the single crochet and double crochet into each single crochet all the way around and skipping each double crochet. Okay, well, I will see you at the end of this round. Back around already, and if you're working this up with me, you can see how quickly it does go. I hope you can hear me better now, and that it was okay before. I forgot to plug in my external mic. I tell you what though, if I could remember everything all at once, that will be a near miracle. Okay, here we go. 16 for me, and this is just a regular round. It's going to look a little different though because of the 2 stitches we crochet together, but we will count those as a regular stitch. The single crochet 2 together counts as 1 single crochet, and the double crochet 2 together counts as 1 double crochet. All right, and again we're going to begin this as usual, skipping the double, working 1 single and 1 double crochet into the first single crochet, skipping the double, and now here is that single crochet 2 together. We'll count that as 1 single, so we're going to work 1 single crochet and 1 double crochet into that same stitch. The next is our double crochet 2 together, counts as 1 double, so we're going to skip that and then go over to the next single crochet and resume our pattern. 1 single, 1 double. That's it all the way around, skipping all the doubles, and in each single crochet 1 single and 1 double. That is it, my fiber friends, on this round. So I will see you at the end, and we will be doing 1 more decrease. Back around at the end of 16, and now my number beginning round 17. Beginning as always, skipping the double, working 1 single and 1 double crochet into that single. We're going to be working a decrease and repeating what we did in round 15. Skipping over the double, we're going to single crochet these next 2 stitches together. So insert your hook into the single crochet, pull up a loop, keep those 2 stitches on, insert your hook into the double crochet next door to that, pull up a loop, Now yarn over, pull through all 3, keep that loop on your hook cinched down, and in the next 2 stitches we'll double crochet those 2 together. Yarn over, insert your hook into the single crochet, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2. You saw how I cinched this one down as well, that second loop. Yarn over, go into the double crochet, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through all 3. Now we're going over to this next single crochet, resuming our stitch pattern of 1 single crochet and 1 double in the same stitch, and again repeating that all the way around, skipping each double and working those 2 stitches, single double into every single crochet around. And at the end of this round you will have either 26 stitches or whatever your beginning number was of stitches in your wristband. So you're going right back to that original count. And then I will see you at the end of this round. Now I just went up one more round to round 19. That was it. These are not for me. If they were, I would probably go a little farther because I like to have more knuckle coverage, even though the pinky is much shorter and then it winds up being to the edge. I find because of the sleekness of the design and the more contoured form-fitting shape that I'm still able to type and do fine motor tasks. This little border that we're going to be doing, which is optional and it looks good with or without, but I really wanted to come up with something that went with the stitch itself, that wasn't overpowering, it didn't get in the way, it wasn't too heavy or bulky. Tried a few different things and it didn't work, so I was just playing around and stitching, and after trying several I just got lost in the moment, wasn't really paying attention, and this appeared. I came up with this, and I'm calling it my half picot wave or scallop stitch or border, and I don't know if it's been done before. I haven't seen it, and if you haven't either, well, here you go. And you can apply this to really just about any edging of a pattern as long as you have multiples of 2. So if you have an even number, you are good to go. Alrighty, so let's get started with our border. Actually, we want to kind of even up the top height difference a little bit. So loosely, not as in a real loose stitch, but you don't want to shrink this and make it a tight stitch. We want to get over to this first single crochet. We're going to slip stitch into the double crochet and into the single crochet. Okay. Now you can switch, chain 1, place a single crochet into the same stitch, chain 1, insert your hook back through the front loop of the single crochet and through that leg next to it, and complete a single crochet, and now slip stitch into the double crochet right next to it. And that's what we're going to repeat all the way around. Single crochet in that next single crochet, chain 1, insert your hook through that front loop of the single crochet and into that leg on the end next to it. It goes right through. Pull your hook through, finish with a single crochet, slip stitch into the double crochet. Don't make those slip stitches tight, because then that can cause the top of your stitches to want to roll over. And that's another thing by going down one hook size for this border, is it helps prevent that as well. All right, so single crochet in the single, chain one, bring your hook through the front loop of the single and into that leg, single crochet, slip stitch. I'll do a couple more with you. Going in the next single crochet, single crochet, chain one, going through those two loops, single crochet, and slip stitch into the double. That is it. All the way around. Okay, so I actually think I like this smaller a little bit better. If you look at that, it just tends to blend more, and it's a nice transition and rather becomes one as part of the entire pattern. Okay, so I'm going to finish, and I'll see you when we come back around and show you how to join. Here I am back to my last set. I will complete that with you. My single crochet, chain one, hook through those two loops, single crochet, slip stitch into the double. And now to connect, I am not going to go back into that first single crochet. Doesn't look right, causes the stitches to bulge. So what we're going to do here instead is slip stitch into that chain one that we did at the beginning. Here's the single crochet, and here is this little chain one right there. It's tight. You can poke it in there. You can go down even one more hook size just to fit it in if you like. You don't want to stretch it out. Just be careful and slip stitch, and you get a nice smooth join, and it looks most like all the other slip stitches that we did in between. And when you cut your yarn, don't tie in a knot at the top because you can see that. So I'll show you in a bit how, see what I mean? Yeah, blah, I don't like that. So I'll show you when we get there how to tie that in, but I usually wait to sew in all my ends until I have two gloves made so I know they're exactly alike. To sew in our ends of this top border, pull your tail end all the way through, and again, don't knot that off. We're going to attach the two sides together, make the beginning and where you ended. Take your yarn and just bring it through that same stitch to the back. And that way you don't have a visible knot in between. And it keeps more of a smooth pattern all the way around. And if you want, you can make a little knot on the inside somewhere. It's where it's not visible. Get that out of the way. That's up to you. Sometimes if you bury it enough in stitches where they're not loose, then that takes care of it all by itself. But if you want to, to make a little knot, you can just go through one of the smaller stitches below and then bring it through and make a little knot that way, and then continue to weave in your ends and bring that knot through just a little bit, and that gets buried as well. Okay, so I'm just going to finish just weaving them in as usual, and when I bring the last bit through, I just make sure it goes through a spot where the stitches are a little bit tighter so they don't work their way back out. And that's all there is to that one. I will start sewing my ends with the bottom, because that's really easy, quick and easy. Okay, so after I've threaded my yarn, that initial chain space at the beginning, I'm just going to jump over to the top of that front post double crochet, or the chainless front post, which may really sit at a funny angle. Okay, so just feed that through the top, give it a little tug to bring that knot through the back, and then you would just weave in your ends as normal. And if you see any little kind of spacing in between, to the left, to the right, then you can just bring your yarn around to make sure, and across here. Go over to the other side, just go past that center spot to make sure it's really secure and locked in and smooth going all the way across. That's it, and just continue to weave in your ends as normal on this one. And to begin your thumb cover, I want you to first take a look at the stitches, which will help make more sense as we work that around. All right, so place it with the thumb opening to the right, turn it, and go to the bottom right corner. There is going to be some holes and some spacing in here. It's just the nature of it. Really can't help it, and that's where some of the hand stitching is. And we will have our ends to weave in at the beginning and at the end, so we're going to make a really good use of them and close in some of these gaps by just meandering our way around and reinforcing them, because any place where you have a join or a stress point where you're flexing can create a weak spot. So the dual purpose to that is to also reinforce these places. Okay, so start with your regular hook size that you've been working with, and take a look at the stitches. If you go to the bottom right, this is a double crochet, and then here you have your single double, which is in your stitch pattern. When you come around to the side, your stitches become sideways, and now your single double are upside down and reversed, so you have a double single. So each one of these groupings represent 2 stitches, and we are going to have to account for those. And now for the thumb cover, grab your main hook size, a stitch marker, and your row counter, something to work with. We're going to begin round 1 with the opening facing to your right. Turn it over and then you will see at the bottom right corner what looks like a double crochet. See, there's your double and single from below. And then to the left you have another single and double. That hole is a little larger, so we're going to actually begin in the next set over. Take your end, connect, leave a nice long tail, so because we're going to be using that to close up some of the spaces. And to secure your yarn on this, don't bring your tail and working end together. It's too thick, adds bulk, stretches the stitch out, and creates another gap, which we don't want. So you can secure that by simply chaining one, and we're going to single crochet back into this same stitch, so you can go back around that tail, secure it there, and we are going to single crochet around with a couple of modifications to help close the gaps. So pay attention to the stitches here. This is the most difficult part, is the beginning round. Right, so in the next stitch, which is a double crochet, single crochet in there, and I'm going to yarn over my tail one more time, and then you can just take it and tuck it down in your thumb hole. Get that out of your way. Alright, so keep track of your count as well. So that's 2. The next single crochet will be 3. And in this large space, single crochet into that. And you're skipping this little hitch non-stitch there. And as I pointed out, here's that upside down double crochet and then the single crochet. And this next stitch, here's that hole below. We're going to go in between. There's the loop and those top 2. Single crochet there. You do not want to go through that top stitch because that connects your single and double together, and it's the base of your thumb hole. It will stretch it out and look terrible. So double check my count here again. 1, 2, 3, 4. That was 5. And then now in between that double and single, you want to split that and go right in the middle. There's 6. And again, there's 7. In between, 8. 9. 10, and here's where the stitches get a little bit weird looking. Here is the upside down, kind of all sideways, single and double, and again the single and double, and you can see this is another corner. We're back to our right corner where we have this large space. To help eliminate that, we're going to work 2 single crochets into here and skip over this. So because you only have 1 loop, we're going to put our hook through these 2 loops and catch that top front loop and the back loop. Place 1 single crochet, that's 11, and another single crochet is 12. We're going to skip over that big space all together, and then here we are back to the first single and double that we skipped. We're going to then place 1 in each. There's 13 and there's 14. I tried several different ways, including crocheting them together, but it just did not work. So we have a couple of stitches on this side to close, and then just a couple on that side as well. So now we're going to join to the first single crochet, and can try working directly into that as long as your stitches are not too stretched out. And we're going to work in the round, so place that single crochet and double crochet and same stitch, and we're going to go back into pattern. Remember your stitch marker, and now we're on round 2. And then you're going to do the single and double in every other stitch. So you will skip the next single and then the next work 1 single and 1 double. Skip a stitch, work 1 single, 1 double. Again, skip 1 single, 1 double, and continue around. And when you get back to your stitch marker, you should have still 14 stitches all together. Take your stitch marker out. Ideally, we want to work into the round, but we want to keep the stitches from getting stretched. So we want to skip this last single crochet and go back to the first where you have your first set of single and double. Now work into that. That looks good. So 1 single, 1 double. We are on round 3. You can try it on at this point after you've connected, see how that fits. So the next round, see that fits pretty good. It's not too tight and it is a little bit loose there, but I think we'll just finish this round 3 and then go down the hook size and complete the rest with that. But that will be, you know, up to you depending on the shape and size of your thumb. So just continue around, skipping the double and working your single crochet and double crochet into every single crochet around. Oops, wrong hook. See what I did there? Oh wait, no, that was right. Okay. What hook did I was even using? Was I using the wrong hook? Oh, for crying out loud. I don't even know. And you continue your way around, single crochet and double crochet, and every single crochet, skipping the double crochets. And then we'll have one more regular round like this, going down a hook size, and then we'll create our border, which also is optional, but if you would like it to look the same as the top, then you can add that on, just however much thumb coverage that you want, and however many rounds you do will depend on your height of your thumb. Okay, so again, skipping that last double crochet. Now I'm going to switch hooks down to my 4mm G hook, and again skipping that last double, and then beginning again, placing 1 single crochet and 1 double crochet in that first single. Completing same around as we just did, and I will meet you back at the beginning, show you how we're going to join on the border round, and it's just about the same as what we did around the hand, but had to change it up just a little bit tiny little bit of joining and connecting when we finish, because now see, we're working in a round, in one continuous round. We don't have a height difference like we did here. It's just all the same, which is kind of nice. Okay, well, I'm here already. And again, you can just keep trying it on. That's where I went with the other one. We're on round 5, by the way. Skipping that last double crochet, you can just single crochet right into the next single crochet, which is the first one in the round. Chain 1, go through those 2 loops like we did on the hand, finish it with a single crochet, and then slip stitch into the double. So instead of slip stitching our way across, we're just working directly in. Because there's not much of a height difference here, I'm going to place my stitch marker back in just to help me out. And then again in the next single, I'm going to single crochet, chain 1 through the 2 loops, single crochet, slip stitch into the double crochet with my 4mm hook, and continue that around in each single crochet. Work that special stitch, slip stitching into each double. Okay, I will meet you back around. Here I am. Take your stitch marker out. We're all done with that. And then here you just slip stitch into that first single crochet. Because we did not have the slip stitch that we did here, that we had to connect across. So that makes it really easy. Again, I am not going to knot that. I'm going to cut my yarn and leave an extra tail, and I will pull my yarn through and sew in my ends like I did at the top. I'm going to bring it back through this same single crochet to the back side. And actually, sorry, that's where you can just poke your yarn through. You didn't need to thread that yet because we need to turn that inside out, being careful so you don't overstretch the top, kind of like a sock. And then now can thread your needle. And if you find there's a bit too much of space, you can give that a little tug and then just begin weaving in your ends. Just pick a spot. A lot of weaving in here, and be careful not to split your stitches either, depending on the yarn you're working with. And I think I might go back. I'm not loving the way that looks, so I'm going to go back up to the top. And go back through these top 2 stitches and reconnect just to bring those together a little bit. There. That still looks good from the front, and that brings, there we go, brings that stitch down a little bit. So just take a look at where some of those gap spaces are and where the placement of your tail is. Since this tail at the bottom is so close to these little openings, I'm going to designate this tail for that side, and then I'm just going to work my way down since I have to bury them anyway. And whenever there's a little bit of a gap space that I don't like, I think is too much and not fitting for the piece, and that's where I will work around. And as you do, just gently pull it through. Don't tug it, because you don't want to make it too tight, and you're going to feel it, and it's going to pull and dig in the valley of the thumb and around the joint, and it will be uncomfortable. I know, because I tried it. I tried it several different ways. And when I come through the stitches, I want to make sure that I'm not creating yet another gap with another stitch. But the nature of the stitch, you have spaces throughout between each group of your single and double. That's just the nature of the stitch. So you don't need to close every single one up, or 100%. You don't need to do that. See how that just brings the stitch in just a little bit, and I'm going to go around this section. Just make a complete little circle. And you will not be able to see these extra stitches. Just make sure that you I have my finger in here to make sure I don't catch the other side, and to stay in the stitches that are on the top so they don't wind up going to the front. And now I'm going to clean up this stitch. See, closes it up just that easily. Go around. Doesn't take much. So that's all you need to do. Take a few minutes to do this. And hand sewing, if you enjoy it, that's wonderful. It is like so not my favorite thing to do. But for some projects, it depends how bad you want to do that project, or how you want the finished piece to be. And I really wanted to make myself a nice pair of fingerless gloves, and so that's how I came up with this. And they're very well received too. And if you have to go around a couple of times around each stitch, just be careful, maybe come in from a different direction so you're not creating too much bulk or thickness or stiffness, for that matter, in one spot. Okay? Yeah, that's it, really, pretty much. Okay, so I have this one little spot here. I seem to have, for some reason, a little bit more on this glove. Could have been my tension. Okay, now this is a good example here. It's going to be my last one on this side, and then I just have this little bit over here to do, and then done. Where you have that string part, I don't want to go through that because it's not going to connect, and it'll just stretch it out even more. Probably go a couple stitches over so that I have a secure connection and something like a stitch underneath as well, so you don't see the one that I'm running through. Okay, and then I'll just make a wider circle around that. Just making some crop circles here around and around. And that's normal. You see, that goes all the way up. You just keep working your way around until you are satisfied with how that looks and you feel it's strong and secure. Oh, maybe takes, 10 minutes, something like that, to do the whole thing, and we're not sitting here talking and explaining at the same time. Well, then it goes a lot faster. And then I'm just going to come back around that same little weird spot there. So if you have an idea on how to keep these gaps from happening better than what I've come up with, while at the same time maintaining your stitch pattern so that it looks the same from top to bottom, well, please, by all means, share that. Let me know if you are so inclined to do so. And then you just do the same with the other side, except there you're going to have less. I am going to finish up this side and show you what it looks like when it's all done. And here we have it. This is the inside still. Took me about 2 minutes or so to finish that up. I think it looks really good, really clean. I tried it on and it feels great. It's the same as the rest. And then now we will turn it in right side out. Excuse me. And there you see the finished work. It's good, comfortable, nice and contoured to the hand. It's warm. I like it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you would, please hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Click the little bell so you will be notified of future uploads, more tutorials, and fun things to come. That's it for now, and as always, take care, everyone. Cheers, and I will see you soon. Bye.